Hello, everyone. It's me, Michael Smith, National Education Manager of Janome Canada. Oh, perhaps are you a quilter? Have you finally got all of your quilts quilted and beautifully bound? But there's one more step. You need a label on the back. Now, it's something I dreaded for years. When I started labeling my quilts, I used one of those permanent pens. And though they say permanent, you definitely need to do your testing. Over time they start cracking, they fade, some will even turn a different color. Not nearly as professional. Doesn't this look much better? It's definitely going to last a lot longer and certainly look more professional. Beautifully embroidered quilt label. So all you need is the Janome 100E embroidery only machine. This is the ideal, perfect entry-level embroidery machine. Some convenient controls, but a lot of bells and whistles. Easily transportable as well. You could take it to class. Now it comes with this 5.5 by 5.5 inch hoop, so big enough for you to do your label with all of your information, even include some designs, including fonts, so you can totally customize however you wish. The steps to make a quilt label so easy, I'll show you how. The steps to create your quilt label are so simple, and it's up to you to decide whatever information you'd like on them. I usually include the name of the quilt, if it has one, the designer's name, in this case, my fabulous quilt in a day. I've even included some of the built-in embroidery designs that are built into the Janome MemoryCraft 100E, as well as all Janome embroidery machines. I, of course, put my name. You could even put in the year that you've made the quilt and where. Yes, this can become the whole history of this quilt. So long after you're gone, then people can go back to see where that quilt originated. Now, it's a wonderful thing, especially if you give these quilts away, so your friends and family can always remember the fabulous person that made that quilt. So very simply, we turn on our MemoryCraft 100E in this case, and we go into, I like to start with this editing icon. Click on that. There is our 5.5 by 5.5 inch hoop included. So each of those gridded lines that you see on the LCD screen coordinates with the gridded template that comes included with our 5.5 by 5.5 inch hoop. So we know for placement, we can align, for example, a line of text right up against one of those lines, and we can see where that will be on our fabric. So when we want to start combining fonts and designs, go into your editing screen, then come down here to the Home button and click on the fonts, which is the A. So here on the MemoryCraft 100E, we can find our fonts in this category. Now, this also applies to all Janome embroidery machines. They're all set up the same. This first selection icon I can hit, there are all the fonts built into my machine. I have one of 6 pages. I can scroll through and select exactly which one I want. We even have some interesting icons here, like border and normal sew. That's where these embroidery designs came into place. These look a lot like the decorative stitches that are built into our sewing machine, but now they are in our embroidery machine, and you will find them in the border and normal sew categories that's within the font category. We even have monograms, some 2-letter and 3-letter monograms. So, yes, we can even monogram my initials here on this cute little pouch that I've made. We can monogram towels. There's so much we can do with our Janome embroidery machines. So when we go back and select, which font do I want? I'll select this typist. Now, the next icon over, we have the orientation. We have an AB that's vertical and an AB that is selected in blue that is horizontal. That means my text is going to go across my embroidery hoop. If we selected the vertical AB, it is going to stitch vertically in the embroidery hoop. So we can totally customize. I'm going to go horizontal in this case. The next icon over is SLM, which stands for small, medium, and large. So do we want a small capital A in this case? Do we want a medium capital A, or do we want a large capital A? So you can see the progression of the size. How much room do you have on your label, for example, will determine how big you'd like your letters. To delete this, we can simply hit the trash can, or we can go down to the cursor button, and that will move the cursor over to the letter we would like to delete. Whatever is in blue means it's active. So then I can hit my trash can, it's gone. The next icon over is capital A or lowercase a. This will determine the size of our letters. So we can capitalize the first letter if we would like, and then all lowercase. That will take up less space in our row than if this was all capitals. Again, you have complete control. And the next icon over is if we would like to save this quilt label and put it into a folder, we can either save it on the machine or ultimately save it to a USB stick. So then we always have it. We don't need to do all of these preliminary steps. We can just simply retrieve the file and stitch out as many labels as we wish. You can say whatever you wish on your quilt label. I usually start with the name of the quilt. So I'll just say, in this case, quilt sample. So I'll start with a capital Q and large, and then I'm going to switch my letters to medium, and then I'll do lowercase to spell quilt. It's very fast, very simple. Now I can scroll through the icon here to see we have a large space or a little space in between my two letters. So when I say quilt sample, for example, I'm going to go back to the capital A, I'll go back to the capital L to do my capital S, then I'll go back to lowercase, and I'll go back to medium. Now this chime, do you hear? I can't write any more in this line. Not a problem. I can just delete this. There is my quilt. I hit OK. So there is my word quilt. I can use the icons on the LCD screen to move up the word quilt. I can use my stylus. I could ultimately use my finger and move this wherever I wish on my label. So in this case, I'll tuck it up on the top left, and then I go back into the home button, go back into fonts, and then I can go to my capital A, capital large there, and do sample. There, that's good. I hit OK, and then I can choose to move this over however I wish. It's very easy to add an embroidery design to your quilt label to combine it with fonts, or we can add in these very cute little embroidery designs that are found within the font category. They are the border and normal sew categories. So to find them, we can go to the home button, go back into the font icons, and then we can scroll up here to find our border and normal sew. So border, for example, look at all these cute designs that we can select. So if I want a whole row of these tulips, there is my border. I select however many I can. There. Now, I don't want this all jumbled together. All of our designs by default are going to start in the center. So in this case, I can use the fonts on the LCD screen to move it down, or again, I can use my cursor to bring it down, use my stylus, use my finger to bring down that row of tulips. We can go back into the home button, back into fonts. We can scroll through to normal sew. These are, again, more cute little designs that we may find in our sewing machine, but now we can stitch them out in our embroidery machine. So we can scroll through whatever we wish. Oh, that shoe, for example, that is built into a number of sewing machines. So now we can use the embroidery portion to stitch it out. Oh, we could combine it. There's this cute little cat. So we can combine so many things, pages and pages. Oh, those little cherries, I see those in a number of my sewing machines. Now we can stitch them out here in our embroidery machine. Select whatever we wish, hit OK, and again, we always have to move it down, or we can use the cursors here on the LCD screen. Now, in this case, this is a little tight for me. So I can go into these editing icons here and select the ABC. So here I can split the design apart, and whatever is in yellow means that it's active. So I can split my design apart, get a little more daylight in between. It also fills up my label a little nicer. If I think, oh, that's too far apart, I can put them back together. So again, you've got complete creative control. To add even more fun to it, we can arc those designs. So if you were doing this label and you had a big center applique that is a circle, we can arc our fonts, arc our designs in this case to mimic that arc. If that is too much, oh, we could do it even this way. So again, complete creative control, whatever you would like to do. Once we say, okay, this is all the editing I would like to do, there is my quilt label, we simply say, okay, and the machine is going to tell us we're using that 5.5 by 5.5 inch hoop. Our thread is going to be at number 3, which is the default. And then away we go. Here is the color. It's going to take me 25 minutes to stitch out this quilt label. When we're getting ready to embroider a quilt label, it's very important that we have enough stabilizer on the back to support all of those dense stitches. You'll see I have a couple of layers here of this tearaway stabilizer. So very important to get the correct stabilizer. Your fabulous Janome dealer is a good resource, as well as check out our Janome Life blog for more about stabilizers. So this is a tearaway stabilizer, but again, I'm going to use 2 layers of it. Now, I don't need both layers to be the same size. I need one layer to be big enough for our embroidery hoop, and you'll see how quick and easy this is. Isn't this fabulous? This wonderful quick release lever to take out the inner hoop. I lay down the big sheet of stabilizer. My little sheet of stabilizer can go right in the middle, which is where my lettering will be. So I don't need extra stabilizer weight out here. I just need it where my stitching will be. Then, and I can always experiment on where to place that stabilizer because of this fabulous acrylic grid that has all of those grid lines on it, so I can line up the embroidery exactly where I need it, and I can see then in the middle of my hoop that I have this smaller piece of stabilizer. Once I know that is in position, I can then take my big piece of fabric for my label and lay that down, and then sandwich that smaller piece of stabilizer in between, and then with this fabulous lever, just give it 2 clicks and it's nice and tight. The fabric is nice and tight. I can always refine it a little bit to tighten it. And then there, nice tight drum. We can do all of our embroidery, and that way we're not going to end up with all the little puckering around the letters. This is all nice and flat because we have all that extra stabilizer in between. Making these quilt labels are so simple. So now you would have this label as your legacy. Happy sewing!